You are listening to the Blueprints Brocast with Jay Cruz
and Austyn Tokar.
So recently I've been finding myself having like more time. So I don't know whether you knew this or not, but I've been trying to apply it some jobs because I have a lot of downtime and I want to like do stuff like obviously work on the YouTube channel and do things like that. But I don't know. I think being at home, a stay-at-home dad, or even being retired, whatever you want to call it, it's fun. But like I also want to do something with purpose with my talents and be around people. Mm-hmm. I'm not around people enough, I feel, and actually this year, I've been feeling a little bit like overly peopled, but I'm not around people, so it's very weird.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm falling into this like realm of being reclusive,
mm-hmm.
and like not missing people. But I feel like I know that's where I need to be, but like I'm just overstimulated like with people. Why is that funny?
I'm laughing because you guys know, I said unstimulated before we started talking. So I was just talking about my whole week, and I was like, I got to find a way to unstimulate myself. Sometimes, you make up words when you feel some type of way, right?
Yeah. So what did you do? You said you were too busy doing just work and stuff like that. So what did you do to unstimulate yourself?
So recently I bought a PS5, right? And I never played video games really. Like for the past 2 years now, I haven't played, any video games at all. I mean, I tried to pick up Guild Wars again. For you guys who don't know, that's like an online, massive online,
massive multiplayer online,
whatever,
role-playing game.
Yeah. They're fun. It's not as dorky as it sounds. Okay, it's pretty dorky, but I tried to play it. I played it for like maybe a total of 8 hours over the course of 3 weeks, and I was like, all right, well, I got my itch out, and I was done with that. So, yeah. So recently, I've been working a lot, and like once you spend a certain amount of time, working in one area, it's very hard to associate it with other areas. So social media is where a lot of my work goes into. It's how I reach out to people, find new clients and all that sort of stuff, good stuff, and how I market myself. So when you go on there for any sort of like enjoyment and to find funny videos on there, it just still doesn't feel like downtime. Even if it's separate from work, it's just not the same, right? So I had to find a way that's away from that, away from just like maybe watching any YouTube videos or anything like that. Because usually now YouTube is where I get my, partially get some of my educational stuff too. Because there's, no matter what anyone says, you can learn a crap ton on YouTube. And I think it's been proven over the past few years based off of how many people who have gotten rich over YouTube.
Yeah.
Right. People used to make fun of people learning from YouTube, but now look at them, huh? So I was like, okay, I got to go back to, I guess, video games. But it's the simple fact of having a separate area from everything else that I'm able to go into, and I don't associate with anything other than fun. Yeah. So find a game, play the game, and I don't think about anything else for whatever, that 30 minutes, that hour, I'm good.
So what you're basically talking about is just like you were working too much, and you're like, well, I'm just getting burnt out of work because I don't do anything else.
I think it's the fact that what my work has a lot to do with other things that I used to associate with downtime stuff. So like I said, social media used to be just fun for me. Now it's part work and part fun, but now it's mostly work and no fun. So it's made that shift over time because of how you correlate it. So for a lot of people, when they work from home, you need an office of some sort, because if you don't, you might be working in your living room, whatever it is, and you're working in there, and then you get off your laptop, whatever, you go sit down on the couch, and you're like, shoot, I'm in the same room. I'm still thinking about work, because you're in the same environment. You're seeing the same things. You're getting the same stimulus. So for me, I had to pull back in that area. So it's not so much the overwork. It's what I correlate to work.
Yeah, I get that. I could see you working on your laptop on the kitchen table, and then you make your food, and you come to sit down, and you push your laptap to the side, and you're sitting right next to you.
Exactly. That's what I used to do too.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that's how video worked for me too. Like I originally did it just to make home videos and to make cool videos for family stuff. Yeah. And then it became a hobby, which became like a job. So I got a job from it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And then I was like, well, this is like work. This has become like work now. Like it's something I enjoy doing, but now it's become work. And I had to step back from it. And then, I started making videos on my own again. But now that I'm doing on my own, like with work in the middle of like, hey, this is like my passion to work, and then trying to go back to it now that it's my passion, it's like, man, I correlate it to work too much. It's not as fun as it used to be.
Yeah.
So like this whole like YouTube, the Blueprints Brocast, my YouTube channel, like, yes, I enjoyed doing it, but there's still like a work element to it, to where if I'm in it too long, I'm just like, like I love doing it, but then it becomes work, and I want it to stay fun. So I think anything that anybody does, there has to be some sort of work-life balance attached to it. Yeah. And so like actually one of the jobs that I applied for is like a video person, a videographer and editor. I haven't got the job yet. It's at a place.
Yeah.
Can't talk about the place yet because I don't really want to, I don't want to talk about it yet.
Someone's going to try to steal your spot.
No, not someone's not going to steal my spot. But like, when things are unsure, I don't like talking about things. I think, Mom and Dad do the same thing. They do it all the time, where there's something that, it's not necessarily private, but like, hey, it's like
there's a time and place to talk about things.
Yeah. It's kind of like the whole, don't catch your chickens before they hatch.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like doing that. It's just kind of like I had this,
even if it's a for sure thing, right? It still hasn't happened yet, so anything can happen. You know what I mean?
The whole process when we were building this house, I just was like, I don't really want to talk about it. I don't want to talk to people about it until it's done. Even if it's done now, I just don't. I don't know. I'm semi-private, but like also like an open book. So if you ask me a question, I'll probably talk about it. But I'm not someone to like offer information. Like I don't like doing that.
It's kind of like when people overhype stuff.
Yeah. I hate overhyping. Is like the
you talked a big game about this. What happened?
Yeah, and actually, I think it was right before Christmas. I had a job, kind of like soft offered to me. It was a coaching job, and it was really exciting because I think that's like would be an amazing opportunity. But I didn't I told you guys about it because it's like, hey, I told the family, but I didn't tell anybody else. Like, hey, like, can you guys like pray for me? Let this be in your thoughts. But I'm not telling a bunch of other people about this position. Because while it's a big deal, I didn't want other people, I just didn't want the attention to it. Yeah. And so like, I'm still waiting on that. Like it's still a possibility, but I'm not counting on it, Yeah. So there's those two things going on. But anyways, like for me, in order to like, kind of like mellow out, I kind of do the same thing. I'll veg out on YouTube, whatever it is. Like if it involves the screen, like it's really easy to escape. And the one thing I will say is I'm glad that like my escape isn't through substance, like physical substance. It's typically through screen, which can be a bad thing as well. So.
It can, but the devil's always in the dose, right? Like you just we got a lot of terms this week.
Yeah.
But that's my favorite. That's one of my favorite things to say. The devil's in the dose, and get the most with the least. You'll always hear me say those type of things because it's true. Too much of anything is bad for you, and there is a time and place to just kind of dumb yourself down because you've wound yourself up so much with work, whatever. That you just need to literally just be dumb for a few seconds, not think, let something else do the thinking for you. I mean, it doesn't have to be a screen. You could just literally stare at a wall. I've done that before. Yeah. It works plenty.
No, I couldn't do that. I go crazy.
It's unknowingly. You're like, oh, I just been staring at a blank TV for the past 10 minutes. You just, like you say, just veg out and you're like, oh, I didn't even know. But yeah, you do have to have that balance in there or else, like you said, you'll just burn out.
Yeah. Something that I've done recently to kind of like maximize my downtime, right? So like, let's say I'm playing some sort of game on my computer or I'm editing on my computer. I actually will have like either a YouTube podcast playing next to me or some sort of like teaching or just something next to me, like playing, like, cause my screen's super wide. So it's like a 39-inch widescreen screen. And I'll do whatever I'm doing, working on the right hand side and the left hand side. I have something up, like, so I'm learning while I'm still doing whatever it is that I'm doing. I know this week it's been like a lot of random stuff. Been learning about Nephilim and giants of the old days.
You wouldn't, what do they call it, the Apocrypha
Yeah,
books?
I did. And it's very interesting, super interesting. And it's a rabbit hole though. So like there's,
Yeah.
you have to be careful who you listen to, because some people it's very weird, and other people it's very informational. So
Some of those are cool, man.
yeah, it is.
Interesting books in there.
Yeah. I just think it's really cool how a lot of the mythological stories line up with a lot of actually historical and archaeological finds that that used to exist. That I can't even go into it, man, because there's so much mystery and
But it's also new to you too.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh, I've never explored this.
yeah, there's a lot of mystery and a lot of what's the word, conspiracy, like surrounding
Yeah.
it. Like every time they found like these skeletons that were like 15 feet plus,
Yeah.
they disappeared, like there's all this stuff. And actually one of them, that was it was in Nevada actually. So there's this story of this Indian tribe that fought these 15, 20-foot giants that had red hair, and they chased them into the hills. They barricaded them into this cave, and then they burnt the cave opening. So they basically asphyxiated them. And then these two guys basically on travel looking for resources to I don't know what the resources. It was either gold or it was like fertilizer or something. I know those two whole random different things, but they ended up finding this cave. So it was cool because in the cave they found these red-haired giants, and then lined it up with these stories of the Indians, and then lined it up with, again, this all these things. Anyways, it's all that to say. I know we're going like in the weeds here. All that to say, me just learning about stuff and things that are potentially interesting while I'm doing my work, kind of like balances out my, working, but like it makes me enjoy the work, because the work can now become a little bit mindless, because my attention is to the thing over here that I'm learning, but I'm still, accomplishing something on this side. So
Yeah. I try to do stuff like that. I think for me, I just can't do two things at once. If I'm doing something, I have to hyper focus on it, or else I'll just completely lose track. Because for me, as you know, I do the voice memos, I do the text memos, or Loom videos for you guys for your check-ins or just updates, and then training videos, whatever. If I'm looking at something else, listening to something else while I'm talking, or just trying to look over all the information you sent me, I'm just kind of like, oh, let me go back to this real quick. They're saying something really good,
Yeah.
And I will completely forget my thought process, because sometimes, you just got diamonds that you want to, good nuggets that you can send to clients, and then you just forget them.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that, because then you try to think about it and you get frustrated. It's like, oh, I forgot. I should have said it. I should have just said it. So for me, I just tend to do one or the other.
Yeah.
And it can be boring, but I mean, if I'm able to put a little bit more effort on my end, then I'd rather do that. Some people could definitely multitask, but that's just not how I'm wired.
Yeah, it just depends on what the multitask is. So like if you are, let's say you're specifically on a call with a client, or you're listening to a podcast, walking is very easy to do at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's something that's still productive on top of your productivity. So you can kill two birds with one stone. Like even if you're like waiting,
It could probably help your productivity.
oh yeah, because now you're not like, it gets your blood flowing, it gets your brain, like
get your juices going.
Yeah, it gets your juices going. But it also is like one less thing. So like even for me, like, oh, I got to get my steps in. Well, if I'm waiting for something and I can get some steps in, I'm gonna do it. Instead of like, oh, it's like 8:00 at night, I still got to have 4,000 more steps. So that's another like almost hour of walking. So just finding time and being conscious of my time, and not to work like heavy, because I don't know. Yeah, I think we can get caught up in writing lists and making sure that we have all these things that we need to do. There's just too much, because it's all in our mind. And sometimes getting it on paper, like, okay, now I know what I need to do, and it looks doable on paper, rather than having it all in your mind and like, oh, I have all these things. Okay, well, in reality, what things do you have? Okay, I have 5 things. Okay, I can knock those out later.
And then what 5 things can you do similarly? Like you said, oh, I got to hit my steps. Oh, I gotta send this voice memo, do this call. What can you do at once? I tell you what, there's nothing better than lightening the workload in some way or another. That only helps. It's not a bad thing, right? Like if I can make the job easier, why not? People will say like, oh, what do you mean make the job easier? You should definitely make the job easier.
Oh yeah.
If it's easier, that means you can work on more things, or you can just do it a lot better. You know?
Yeah. So I don't know who said this, but they said that lazy people make good managers because they're going to try and figure out the quickest way to complete
I
something.
think it was CEOs, bro.
I don't, or
You
maybe
find other
CEOs.
people to do your work for you. You find the easiest way to get there too.
Yeah, but it's true though. I mean, to be honest, like, man, I am the laziest fit person. Like, if I could sit in like a roller chair and just roll myself around everywhere, dude, I would do that because I'm still getting to where I need to do, but I'm just expending less energy. Like, and even in my job when I was a manager, I didn't want to do a bunch of work. I don't want to, and I didn't want my people doing a bunch of work, and I especially didn't want them doing it twice over. So sometimes just accuracy and doing it right the first time is the laziest way to do something, because now you're not like cutting corners, and like you're just making sure it's done right.
You're making a better way, an optimal way
Yeah.
of doing it.
I wouldn't say like the easiest way, but I would say, yeah, your word's better. Optimal. I'm trying to figure out the optimal way to do something, so we don't have to redo it or, take longer to do something. So
Well, it's like with training. You can train really hard, but are you training in the best way possible? Like, it's cool if you want to do that and that's your goal, just to train really hard. But if your goal is to like build muscle, there are better ways to do it than just throwing around a bunch of weight. Right?
yeah, that's another thing. Like, I found the best way to like kind of balance my work and balance my life and my play and all that kind of stuff is like, what's my purpose and why am I trying to what am I trying to do? If I know what I'm trying to do, then I know what my work needs to be, and I know what my free time needs to be. Like, if I know what my purpose is and what I'm doing, then it makes it more focused.
Yeah.
If I'm just doing the thing, like if you're just like, well, I just got to get clients and I just got to, do these things, then you're just doing it. But if you're like, no, hey, like I need to talk to this guy to make sure that I'm helping make his life better. Like, your goal is to like help people, and now you're helping him rather than just like, oh, just gotta do a check-in. Like, it makes it horrible when you're just going through the motions of doing life, as opposed to like, I have purpose in what I'm doing. And an example of that is I've known a lot of stay-at-home moms in my lifetime, and they talk to Julie about things, and a lot of them have found, hey, like when I'm just being a stay-at-home mom and like changing diapers and doing whatever it is, man, it feels purposeless. But when I realize that I've been given the gift of this child, and my purpose is to bring them up to, be an upstanding citizen, to love God, and to all these different things, then their purpose of that child changes, and they're like, oh, I don't mind cleaning up after them and teaching, like actually teaching, like instead of just cleaning up after them and like having them go on their way. Oh no, I'm trying to teach and bring up this child. So in that moment, it becomes like a teaching moment, and there's purpose behind the mess that the child made rather than just cleaning it up. But I think that's a big deal, is to have a purpose for what you do and why you do it. Otherwise that's exactly what it becomes like.
Yeah. Change your perception about it.
Oh yeah.
I think one of the first, self-help books that I read was from Grant Cardone. I mean, he's a little out there and stuff, but
it seems like everybody you listen to, like they're cool at it for a while, and then you start listening and you realize, wait, you're kind of a space case. Like, you're saying things that are way out there.
They're good in the moment, because when you're first coming up, you're kind of in a desperate area. So you're like, who can I listen to? Who do I look for? And when you're in that moment, you look for the easiest thing possible that you're looking for, like money. Usually it's money. It's like, this person's successful because they got this car, they got this compound, they got all the money in the world, they got the girl, right? So that's who you look at first, before you realize like, they're kind of weird, bro. Like, some of the stuff they say doesn't make sense. But anyway, he says, you got to change the perception from I have to work to I get to work.
Yeah.
And when you change it to I get to work, you find purpose within it. It's like, I get to, and this is my goal with it. This is my purpose. You have this opportunity in front of you. You can make something happen.
That's good. I watch people that are in the fitness industry specifically, and you can tell when they're in it to like help people, and you can tell when they're in it to just make money, and that's their money maker.
Oh, yeah.
There's a big difference in the way that they talk to people, not even the way that they talk to people. It's the way that their people talk about them. Like, anybody that they've ever helped or anybody that they've ever worked with, talk about them. There's actually like a personal connection, and it's like hey, they've actually like enhanced and changed my life, rather than like, they're so cool. Like when somebody talks about how cool somebody is, it means they don't know them. That's how I feel. Like if they talk about how cool somebody is, but if they talk about like specifics, not just a general like, oh, they're cool and they're nice or whatever, they say, hey, he or she did this specific thing for me. It made me feel this type of way. That's the difference maker in people and in lives. You don't meet that many people like that.
No.
At least I don't.
Well, this is the number one problem in the fitness industry are bad coaches. Like just again, coaching in itself, like fitness coaching, that is like a low bearing fruit. It's the easiest barrier to entry job, in my opinion. If you like fitness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyone can be a coach. You don't need any background really, realistically. You just need to look kind of good, kind of fit, right? Anyone makes a video. But bad coaches are a real problem because I was just talking to this girl yesterday and she was saying like, oh yeah, and this is, remember, you're coming from a state of like, you want something that they have, right? So he's posting like, oh, this client transformation. In reality, he's probably not taking care of them. They're probably taking care of themselves. But, she's like, I saw this transformation. I really liked it. The guy's super cool. He's attractive. And I hired him, right? But then 3 weeks in, the dude spaces on her, says, I'll keep up the good job. You're doing great, right? 2 weeks later, he's gone. He doesn't even talk to her or anything. Doesn't message back. It takes 2 weeks. And he said, oh, I had car problems.
Car problems.
Exactly. It doesn't make sense.
He's an online coach?
Yeah, he's an online coach. So bad coaches, man. I'll tell you, like that's the number one thing I hear. You won't hear from them for 2-3 weeks at a time, and they'll get back like, all right, how's your progress going? That's not what coaching is. That's not what good coaching is. You need that one-on-one effort. You can't just, here's your plan, goodbye.
Yeah.
That's not what you're paying for.
Yeah. I have a lot of people that I unofficially mentor. And I think that that's a great tip that you just said, because, I check in with them 3 to 4 weeks, and I know that I'm not getting paid to do it. I know that there's no like contract. There's no like specific, like, hey, like even word of mouth, like, hey, you're mentoring me. There is none of that. It's just like how you just know.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I have a few people that are like that I need to check up on, but I probably could do it a lot more often, and it would mean a lot more, because in that amount of time when you're mentoring somebody, 2 to 3 weeks, a lot can happen in 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah. That a lot of life change can happen in that amount of time. So that's a good reminder for me.
Yeah. But that cracks me up still.
We have a friend that was working out here for a little bit, and she was like 3 months into her journey. I think by month 4 or something like that, she started like announcing that, oh, I'm training people now. And I was like, I don't even know if you're going to continue to do what you're doing. Yeah. 3-4 months from now. There is like, I think the one part that you said it's a low hanging fruit. It's easy to capture, and you could just coach anybody. Yeah. But you, as somebody that's going to coach somebody else, like, you want to learn pretty well what it is before you start teaching. Yeah. It's really frustrating to me when I see, somebody trying to teach other people. I love their passion. Like, oh, that's great that you want to do that. That's great that that's something that you've adopted to or adapted in your life to want to teach other people. But like, when she was here, I was telling her super basic things on how to just do a bench press, or like a lat pull down, or just like really, really simple movements, and then like diet and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. It was just frustrating to me that, like, I'm not going to tell her, no, don't do it. But people just think because they've done something a couple times that they're experts and they can teach someone else how to do it. Oh, I did it, so I can tell you how to do it.
That's like people who do bodybuilding shows, and then they coach people through a bodybuilding show because they did it once. That is a very common thing, more than you think. But I think you just have to realize where you're at. Realistically, look at the situation. Like, am I good enough to coach someone? Is this going to provide them value? Like, and any value is going to be good value, right? Like, you can help someone who is in a way worse spot than you. But when you try to take other people under your wing that are around your same level, that's kind of like, that's where you draw the line a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that to say is, what are the things that I think you've learned in the past couple of weeks, maybe months, about how to balance your life when it comes to work, because I know that, I've watched you, you've come up a lot in that, in the way that you post on social media and the things that you do. What have you learned about yourself, and what you need to be the most efficient, both in life and in work?
I think you have to curate who you become. Like you can't, how should I put this? The more you do something, the better you're going to get at it, and the more consistent you're going to get at it. And that's just say it becomes habitual. So it becomes very hard to get off track. Mm-hmm. So before, when I was just kind of moseying around with it, and I would post every now and then, reach out to people for coaching and all that stuff, and like kind of half butt it'd be very easy to fall off because I wasn't treating it like a job. Now that I'm treating it like a job and going all in, putting 8+ hours a day, doing what I need to do, it's more of like it's very hard to fall off. I'm not regressing the way I used to in that fact. So if I do something like, oh, today I'm going to take a little break, like more so than I normally would, it's not me staying there longer than I have to be. I'm like, oh, I should just get back to work now. It's very easy to go from one state to the other. The other part of it is, after learning that, you have to be able to balance, like, okay, I'm pushing a little bit too hard and I need to find an outlet. Because this goes for people who do work at home. It's very hard on you because back in the day, you would have to go in the office, and it's an easy separation between work and play. Mm-hmm. When you're at home and you're working, you have to make that environment. One's for work, and you have to shift away to a totally different environment and want to have your free time, whatever it is. Otherwise, you will not get the outlet you need to kind of chill.
Yeah, I could see that, because I could see how easy it is to, like, even for me, I open my computer up and the distance between playing and doing work is an icon that sits next to each other. Yeah. Like, so you could choose which icon to click on, and like, okay, I'm going to do work or I'm just going to mess around. So like, I get that. And I found for me, like, I need a little bit of like structure. Like I can't do it I honestly cannot do stuff by myself. I need somebody else that's doing whatever it is with me, to be inspired to do it and to bounce ideas off of, and to encourage me along. If I was by myself, and just like had to decide to do things, I would never do anything. I need somebody, like a partner, a teammate, or even a full team. It doesn't even matter who it is or what it is. Well, it does matter who it is. But I need camaraderie, basically. I'm not a lone wolf. I've known that for a long time, and trying to do stuff on my own is probably one of my most difficult hurdles and tasks that I've ever had in my life. So
it's hard, man. It's like it's almost depressing in a way, because you are alone. You can't, the ease of access thing we were talking about before. You don't have that person next to you unless you want to bring your partner into it, and that's usually not something you want to do on a daily basis, because you don't want to, for every work question, you don't want to bring that up to them, like, oh, should I do this, should I do that, does this seem like a good move, and all that kind of stuff. All the nitty-gritty stuff, you don't want to bring that up. That's more of like they're there to kind of like push you along when you need it the most, not everyday things.
Whenever somebody uses that term, nitty-gritty, all I see is Nacho Libre. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
I forgot about that movie. It's a good movie.
Yeah, anytime someone says that, that's what I think of. That's why I laughed.
What is it? I've had diarrhea since Easter's.
Yeah, there's that. That's like one of the most quotable movies ever. Yeah. So, man, hopefully that me personally, like, I can just get motivated to do work, because I think I'm self-motivated to do things like what you just said, working out and eating, diet, all that kind of stuff. Like that, I'm used to that. I've done that for years. But deciding work on my own and developing that on my own, that it's new for me, and it's really difficult, and I have to get into that routine. So once I get there, I think everything will be good. And I'm also like, even though I want to do stuff on my own, I'm okay with getting a part-time conventional job, just to be around people and to get out of my reclusive shell that I feel like I'm slowly shrinking into, that feels comfortable, but at the same time, like, I want camaraderie. So
that could help your work productivity though. You
Yeah,
know,
I think so.
it could be an outlet for you from what you're doing here. Like again, you don't, when you're trying to build something, maybe some other area might give you an idea for it.
Yeah.
If you're not completely sure like what it is that you need to do in the moment, some other area of life could help that.
Yeah, I agree.